Hi, welcome. My name is Laura Marsh, and I'm your student's Creative Comp teacher. I like to say teacher because Creative Comp is a little bit of a different English experience. So I'm going to today talk to you a little bit about what the class is, what a typical day looks like, talk about grades, where the grade comes from, um, and hopefully you enjoy the presentation. Thank you so much for watching the video. So my name is Laura Marsh. Here's my contact information right here. The best way to contact me is with an email, because if you call, I mean, feel free to call too, but if you call, it just goes into, you leave a voicemail and it goes into my email. So yeah, either way, it's coming through my email. If you want to talk ever on the phone or over Zoom, just again, send me an email and we'll set up a time that works for both of us. No problem. So your student is in the right class if they like to write. So I'm guessing that that's why a lot of your students took the class. It's the vibe I'm getting from a lot of your students. Whenever I'm like, all right, let's do a quick write, they get right down to it. So I've been really, really happy with the class so far. They're engaged and willing to play along, and we're having a blast. So I'm guessing, hoping, guessing, knowing that that's what's going to continue on for the semester. And I'm really, really excited and so grateful that your students are in my creative writing class, because they've been awesome so far, and I'm expecting just more awesomeness as the semester continues. This is a semester-long class, so next semester they'll be taking another English class, or they might not even have an English class because maybe they doubled down on English last year. We're going to be reading each other's pieces, so that's also super fun for students to read each other and like share creative ideas. And most of their work, which I'll talk about on another slide, they're going to be able to do in class. So that's one of the goals that I have. Not that students aren't allowed to write outside of class, but I try as much as possible to give them writing time so that they're not burdened with extra homework, especially with the weirdness of the situation. And for a lot of your students are seniors, so for a lot of them, they're going through the college application process, which again, I'll talk about in a second. So that's another reason why I like to kind of contain the workload to what's feasible for them to do during the allotted class time. So one of the things that I'm doing as a creative writing teacher, like I said, we'll go over lessons and things you'll see in a second, little tips and strategies, whatever. I might share an article with them that gives them some advice. But for the most part, I'm just giving them feedback, positive feedback, constructive feedback. I might ask them questions. Like, honestly, a lot of my feedback just looks like questions, because I don't really think it's fair to like evaluate or grade creative writing. Creative writing is a process. It looks super different to everybody. So we're in a very like flexible space in terms of like how work is being evaluated. What I do is I give them writing prompts and ideas, different challenges. I give them time to share their ideas and to write. I give them positive feedback and encourage them. And then I get them in a writing group. I've already asked them, like, hey, if there's anybody that you're not comfortable with working with, let me know. They all get along with each other. They're all awesome. But I try to put them with students that they'll stay with for the semester, so they get used to each other and sharing like larger works or maybe even more personal things. So that they gain trust and they get to familiar with each other's writing style, and it ends up being like a really cool sort of thing that these writing groups establish a relationship. So hopefully that's something that we'll be able to duplicate over Zoom. And then, like I said earlier, I know your students are seniors, and a lot of them are going to be doing the college application process. I have some former students in the class right now, which I love. It's super fun. And they've already, they've emailed me questions about their college essay already. And so I'm telling all my students in creative writing, if they want college essay feedback, that's all they have to do is share the document with me and ask me, like, hey, Marsh, can you give me some feedback? And I'll give it to them. They don't have to take my feedback, but I'll give them feedback. And then we'll take a couple days in October, because the earliest deadline is November 1st, typically. Well, some people might have a deadline that's October 15th, but typically not. So early October, what I'll do is I'll share a couple articles that I found over the years regarding college essays from college admissions officers, and then some sample college essays too, so that they get to see what other students have submitted in terms of college essays and personal statements, and what's been accepted, like what has gotten students accepted into some really elite schools too. So we'll do some college essay stuff, but really it's up to them if they want it. If they can ask me for college essay stuff at any point, and I will give it to them gladly. Okay. We're going to be doing a series. Usually how creative writing rolls is they do a series of activities for me, and then they might do a writing prompt. So we kind of alternate back between writing activities that are more collaborative or kind of goofy, silly, whatever, smaller pieces. And then we alternate those with like larger pieces. So that's what I'm going to kind of talk to you right now about. So I'm going to show you an activity that we did. Oh, wait, sorry. Let me back up. I don't share their work without their permission first, but like you see, there's a little star there, unless there's a safety concern. So because some students write about deeply personal things, not every student, some students never write about anything personal. They're always writing fiction and it's always like fantasy or whatever. But some students get deeply personal. If there's ever a safety concern regarding your student or the safety of other students in the class, I will always act on it. Your student knows that that's a requirement for me. But as much as possible, I try to have a conversation with that student first to be respectful of their privacy and of that conversation and of that story that they shared with me. So, but obviously if there's a safety concern, I can't get a hold of them. Like I have to leap through that step. So again, I've tried to be as transparent with this as possible with your student. Other than that scenario, I will always tell them, hey, this is something that you're going to share in a group with 3 other people, or this is something that you're going to share in 10 minutes with the class. Like we're going to post it on school. So I try to be as transparent as possible because I understand that people's comfort levels with sharing their writing varies. And it's always easier if you know ahead of time who's going to see your writing than it is to find out after the fact, after you wrote something. So all right, now I'm going to move on. Thanks. Okay, this is an example activity that we just did. So these are drawings from your students that they did in about 10 minutes, I think they took to draw these pictures. So this is a descriptive writing activity where the first step is where they draw these creatures. So they draw a monster. It's not supposed to look like anything that currently exists, although some of them kind of look like the Stranger Things, and Monsters, Inc. and whatever else. But the idea is that it's an original monster. So that's part one. Then what they do after they're done drawing, so they submit their drawing to me, and then they take their drawing and they write a descriptive paragraph. And the goal of the descriptive paragraph is so that the reader, as they're reading the descriptive paragraph, gets a very complete image of that monster. So it's kind of a test to see, how descriptive is their descriptive writing. So, and then they submit the paragraph to me of descriptive writing. All right, so we see some sample paragraphs. So they drew the picture first, then they write the descriptive paragraph. They submit both kind of separately to me. And then what I do is I take the descriptive paragraphs and I give them to different students. And then those students have to draw new pictures based off of the other students' descriptive paragraphs. And here we are. So here are some of the pictures that were drawn by your student. And then they wrote descriptive paragraphs, we swapped them, and then here are the matchups. So these are pictures that match up with the corresponding. So, one student drew the original picture, the other student drew a picture off of this person's description. So you can see kind of how they did. I was impressed. First of all, I'm very impressed with their artistic skills because they draw way, way better than I mean, I couldn't believe that they did this in 10 minutes. It was amazing. But then their descriptive paragraphs must have been pretty good because, look at these matchups. They're pretty accurate. They're not too far off. So we've got some good writers in the class. Here's some more matchups. So this is an example of a descriptive activity. It's pretty quick, pretty fun, gets them engaged, still is, on point in terms of a really productive, useful tip in terms of descriptive writing, in terms of creative writing. All right, and here's an example of like a larger writing prompt. So this is something that we're doing this week. So I will give them, again, we alternate weeks. Like some weeks we'll do poetry, some weeks we'll do smaller activities, some weeks we'll focus on something larger like this. So this is a larger piece that they're doing, but it's still kind of manageable in terms of the length. They're going to be sharing it with their group members and their small writing group. The challenge for this writing assignment is to use dialogue. So not only are they using those description lessons that we talked about with those master drawings, but then they're also incorporating dialogue. So we went over how to punctuate it. There's a PowerPoint, how to punctuate dialogue, the importance of it, how authors use dialogue in their creative fiction. And so this is their challenge for this week. They started writing it on Monday. They're gonna get Wednesday to work. I'm gonna put them all in individual breakout rooms. I'm gonna individually conference with them. They're gonna show me quickly. They're gonna share what they've written so far, talk me kind of through it. And then on Friday, they're submitting that piece to me, and they're gonna share it with just a couple other people in the class. Although typically what I do, depending on how like rambunctious the group is, sometimes I'll ask for volunteers from the whole class, and some classes nobody wants to volunteer to read their pieces in front of anybody, but in other classes I'll have 5 volunteers read, and it's hilarious and fun. So it kind of, part of this class is based on the personalities of the students in the class, again, which makes sense in a creative space, that we're gonna like kind of all work together to create a space that is really comfortable for everybody and allows everybody to be creative. All right, let's talk about grades. And so this is the grade breakdown and that you'll see in Infinite Campus. So 30% is a daily work. So things like that monster descriptive activity will go in daily work. The submissions like the heads we get married, tails we break up that we're doing this week, that's going to go in the 30% under workshop and installments, because those larger pieces are all going to make up this portfolio that you see is worth 40% of their grade and is going to be due in early December. And that is just a culmination. It's comprised of all the different pieces that they've worked on and revised over the semester. So the portfolio, it sounds daunting. It's like, oh, portfolio, and there's got to be 13 pieces of writing in it, and blah, blah, all these requirements. But really, like, as long as they're keeping up with the assignments as we go through, which they all have been for the most part, like the portfolio is going to be pretty easy to put together. It should be pretty easy to put together. They're fine tuning, they're revising based off the feedback they got, and then they're putting it all in one place and presenting it, that they're proud of. So usually the portfolios are super cool. Here's how Schoology is going to be set up. So the Zoom link is always going to be the first link, just to make it really easy for every student to find, because they need to get to class. There's like you say, there's some folders. Usually what I do is I'll put like a folder that describes like what they're doing for a particular day. So there you see, the show don't tell, this descriptive activity for Thursday. If I took a screenshot from today, you would see, for this, I put all of this week's information under one folder, because they're working on that heads we get married, tails we get break up prompt all week. So I just created one folder for that, since it's going to bridge over 3 days. So like, I gave them a sample, professional sample of a piece that uses all dialogue. We talked about dialogue. I gave them a prompt. They're going to write the prompt. We're going to individually conference on Wednesday. They share it or they submit it on Schoology sometime before Friday's class. And then on Friday, they're going to share it with a couple other people. So fun time. Yeah, it's good stuff. All right. So something that I kind of referenced earlier is that I'm not really necessarily grading their work like a traditional English teacher would for a different type of class. So it's not really standards based, and it doesn't mean, like, I'm not comparing your student's short story to a sample essay to see like where it falls in terms of that standard. Creative writing is super different. It's super flexible. It's super fun. I love it. I'm not giving grades. I'm really just giving feedback. I'm making suggestions, or I'm asking questions, or I'm telling them what I really like. Mostly I'm telling them what I really like about it, honestly, because that's what they need, is encouragement to keep writing, and to know what their readers like what they're doing really well. So being in a positive feedback place is really great for us. So that's primarily where I live as an instructor. Your student, this should be an easy A, as long as your student is showing up to the Zooms, they're playing along, they're doing activities, they keep up with the writing, they make use of the class time. It should be fairly easy for them to keep up and submit everything on time and all that. So 0 headache grades. If there ever is an issue with an assignment, or they're not sure, if there's some sort of confusion, please encourage them to email me as soon as possible. It's much easier for us to fix problems proactively than reactively. And that's it. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you've got any questions, comments, or concerns, please email me at lmarsh@d211.org. I've really had a lovely time getting to know your students in these first 7 days, and I'm really excited for the rest of the year, or I should say semester, because sadly only a semester in your class. So that's the only bad thing about it being a semester class, is at the end of the semester, it's kind of sad, actually. It's really sad, because I want to read more of their writing, and I think they like being in the class and sharing their ideas with their classmates too. So, but until that moment, we're going to enjoy it while it lasts. So thank you so much again, and have a great night. Bye.